Welcome to What's in the Box, episodes of horror with Donna and Eric. I'm Donna,
And I'm Eric.
and tonight we have with us Jeremy Cruz. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And
We're not
we are
usually
going,
this quick with requests, but we got through this one I thought, pretty fast.
yeah, yeah, it was a
Good.
pretty short book. It was only like the version I have was like 130 pages.
Yeah, but the print's like that small, at least in the one that
Yeah,
I have.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we are going to be talking about Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. Um, Now, Jeremy, I know you've read this a bunch of times.
hmm
Eric, had you read it before?
Yes.
You had. Okay, so this is my first time reading it. Um, and just so everybody's aware, there will be spoilers. So if you've not read it and you don't want spoilers, stop watching and watch after you've finished. Um, but I'm going to say right away that I honestly did not know this was about vampires.
Oh,
I
really? Well,
I thought it was about zombies because the only experience I have with I Am Legend is the Will Smith movie.
yeah, but those
Um,
are vampires.
but I don't
yeah, like a
remember.
zombified
Yeah,
vampire kind of
but see,
thing.
I don't really remember the movie. I don't think I don't remember actually like liking and paying attention to the movie.
No, the movie's
hmm
terrible.
Yeah, it's really
Yes.
bad.
So,
Thank you.
So
God, I'm glad you guys agree with me. I thought I was the only one for a minute. It was like, I
yeah,
like that movie. What are you talking about? I'm like,
I
what?
mean, it
yeah,
is fine for what it is and as a Will Smith thing. But if you're
Yeah.
gonna say it's representative of this book, then you're not bright. So,
yeah,
Mm-mm. It's
yeah.
very different. I
unfortunately,
mean, there's similar elements to it. Like they use
yeah,
some things. For example, like he has a dog. Like in the book, he doesn't really have a dog, but there's a dog in the book. That's just one
yeah,
example.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we're gonna. Nobody that's made a movie has ever captured what this book's about. And
No.
to be fair, when I read it the first time, I hated this story. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I would say if anybody ever asked me, I would say I don't like Richard Matheson because of
hmm
this. But I enjoyed it this time. So I guess I
Yeah.
just needed to grow up. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think that part of it is that it was written in 1954, even though it takes place from like what 76 to
mhm.
79 or
Yeah, which I was
something.
surprised about. I because I was like, it's originally written in 1954, but it starts off in like 75 or 74 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was confused because as I'm reading it, because I thought it was like written in the 70s, because I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then it's like, why does he keep listening to Brahms and Beethoven? Like, where's the AC/DC and Black
Yeah,
Sabbath and stuff? That's
yeah,
what I'd be listening to. But I'm like, oh, okay, this is like 20 years before that. So there
Yeah.
yeah,
wasn't really barely rock and roll at that point. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
just,
Like it.
yeah.
And so, if anybody watching doesn't know the premise of I Am Legend, it's basically a man alone in a house, and he's the last living human, supposedly, on Earth. And he's, barricaded in his house because there's vampires trying to get him.
hmm
So I did, I did really like the book. I was annoyed as crap though that the author kept referring to him as Robert Neville. Robert
Yes.
Neville poured some brandy. Robert
Yes.
Neville, like,
It was constantly Robert Neville. Yes.
yeah,
And I wonder
Yeah.
if that's influenced by his screenwriting stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
probably. Yeah, I
because
mm,
wouldn't be
that's how they would
surprised.
have done it in a screenplay or whatever.
Yeah, he did
yeah,
a lot of Twilight Zone
I
episodes and
mean, he did all
yeah.
the Poe stuff. I mean, I love him as that. That's the kind of
hmm
writing I loved of his, but I've never been a huge fan of his books. But
Yeah.
I guess I'll change my mind and go back and check the other stuff out.
yeah, yeah. This
But
was the
also it has
first
that feel. It has that I guess it was driving home that he's the last human. He's the last person.
hmm
yeah,
Right.
They always tell you that when in a hostage situation, you humanize them by saying their names over and over again and things of that nature. It kind of has
yeah,
that vibe to it. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
but also it was
yeah,
written in the 50s. So, I
hmm
mean, it's hard to tell what rules are being used and which ones are being ignored. How are we doing it? It does definitely has the feel of that kind of when we did the supernatural run, Donna. It's
yeah,
got that same vibe to it. Where all those books were kind of like that.
yeah.
Proper, I
I'm
guess.
really impressed with this book being written in the 50s that
hmm
I mean it wasn't super gory, but for the
hmm
time, like the big pit where all the bodies are just thrown
Yeah.
into and um
Yeah, he
you
lets
know,
the imagination play for the
yeah,
reader. You can go as dark as you want and as far as you want. So I think
Yeah.
that's cool. I've always been a writer that appreciates that. So
Yeah. And it really didn't, with the exception of the musical choices, like you could almost imagine the fact that he put dates on there. Um, you almost could imagine this taking place at any time because there's nothing
yeah,
specific that brings you. I mean, obviously it was taking place in the 70s and it was written in the 50s, so they couldn't predict like, you know, politicians and
Right.
pop
But he doesn't
music.
go into that. He keeps
Yeah.
it, he doesn't date his book at
Yeah.
all, really.
He keeps it
yeah,
kind of like, I don't want to say generic, but that's
Yeah.
really the only word that's coming to my mind. So you
yeah.
could like it totally holds up today.
Well, it's because it's focused on an individual and his experience and not the experience of the plague, which I
Yeah.
think if we would have done like World War Z, World War Z, it takes a big picture, even though it's all the journal entries and all that stuff. It's a big picture kind of look. And this is really a singular, this guy is it. And this is how his day to day is. And it's very monotonous and kind of, in a way, it's kind of, I don't know. It's very sad for sure, but it's also
Yeah.
just it's like clinical in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Watching him
Yeah.
slowly and we don't even know what he does. I don't think it ever explains it. In the movies, each movie tries to make him into a doctor. And so that way he can, but I think in the book he's just some guy who goes to the library and learns how to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
he's
that's
smart. And
Yeah.
like you said, he gets a microscope and he starts like reading all these books. He's trying to understand them. And over time, he starts to understand it a little bit more. And,
But every movie he starts as a doctor. He already knows everything, and that's how he can do the serum and the other things that they do. And each one takes a different approach to it. But um, Will Smith being the most doctor of all three of the
yes.
movies, he definitely was trying to find a cure, and that's what the whole point of that movie was. But
So
yeah.
Eric, I
um,
have a question because so I've only seen the Vincent Price one, which is actually the most accurate version to this book,
yeah, I
but
would agree.
I've never seen the Charlton Heston Omega Man. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, let's see. Hold on.
It looks really bad, but I don't know if it actually is. But that's more of like
I have it
him
somewhere.
being Charlton Heston and like, being a badass type of thing, right?
Kind of, but also they're not really vampires. This would be one of those where they're more like leper kind of plague victims. They are kind of vampires, but they're not. It's really got a lot of 70s exploitation in it,
Definitely, yeah.
um and it's really cheesy and fun, and everything about it is stuff that I love about movies. And it's the one that I was actually introduced to first without knowing anything about the book. My dad sat me down and said, "You got to watch Omega Man," and we sat there and watched it. And I was like, "Oh, this is like the greatest thing ever."
Yeah.
So if you watch it now, it's not, and it probably would offend many people, but it's still a pretty cool little slice of 70s, and it's kind of the same idea, except for he's a lot more militant in this one. And there are, of course, survivors, which you don't have in the other two movies. Well, you kind of do at the end of the Will Smith one, but there's actually a huge like group of survivors in Omega Man, if I remember correctly, and he teams up with them.
Okay. Gotcha.
But everybody's still sick and the plague and all that. And I think that's the most interesting thing about this book is how they came across having vampires, which I think is really cool. To do it as a plague and less as a main vampire turning people into vampires.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this so interesting.
Right. And there's three types of vampires. And we can get into that whenever, but I didn't understand that reading it the first couple times. And I was like, okay, like that was just the one thing that didn't stick with me specifically. But yeah, there's actually three different types. And actually Matheson rather, blamed Romero, said that he ripped him off when he did Night of the Living Dead, the original, because of the zombie, like they're the ones that they don't have like they're zombies really,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have any cognitive functioning or anything like that. But the ones like Ben Cortman, his friend, that's always like,
Hmm.
"Come out, Neville." They're more ravenous. They only really care about feeding, and they're just more rabid in that sense. But then later you get with the new breed, they're people that the the infection, the virus, they had whatever genetic difference in their bodies, and it just translated differently. So that's why they
Well,
still act like humans and all that stuff.
I got the I got the oh no, it's been one of those days. I'm going brain dead right now. But I got the idea that that third group wasn't that it was genetics, is that they came up with a basically a vaccine to allow them to be able to
Uh,
be more human. Like they were
yeah,
doing
but I
their own
think
experimentation.
right. So I think that it was slower in their bodies, and so they were able to develop it before
The
they
the pill or
changed.
whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because eventually it would have made them the way that like Ben Cortman was and
Yeah.
stuff.
They would
But
turn
they
him
were
into
able,
the true vampire.
yeah. But because it was slower, they were able to develop like a cure of sorts.
Yeah.
So, hmm.
Yeah.
And so then that makes you wonder about Neville because he apparently has the whatever gene is necessary, on steroids, ramped up to 100
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
he
Right, right,
doesn't
right.
change. And so then that's what all the movies always try and do is that he's the cure because he didn't turn and so you have that kind of thing, which is kind of interesting that they don't even try to experience that or do that to him in the book. There could have easily
Yeah.
been more
Or
um
like take his blood and like
yeah, and
look
just
at it and
experiment with it
see
and
what's
stuff.
going
But
on.
he becomes
Right.
such a monster to them. He's
Hmm.
the
Yes.
boogeyman, which is, I guess, the whole point of this is that the human has become the boogeyman and the
To the
monsters have to,
vampires, yeah.
and so they have to get rid of him so that they can have so they can stand up to him and have a flourishing society. Look at us. We stood up to the bad guy. We're on the
Hmm.
right path. We're correct. He's wrong. Of
Yeah.
course, the whole
He's a
book is,
monster.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
the monster. And so
Yeah.
it's a,
What a
it's an
great
interesting
ending.
look. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a cool look. And then, but also that that it's not true that some of the leadership doesn't believe that and they're only placating to the crowd. They're
Sure.
doing the thing that we always say you shouldn't do, which is of course let the mob rule, when they could
Yeah.
have easily said no, this isn't a monster, and look, this is what we can do if we help this person, or we can show our side of humanity. We're not vampires, we're people if we don't kill this guy, and nobody wants to hear it. So I think that's an interesting little thing to take away, especially when you think about it being written in the 50s, and then you can maybe line it up with the McCarthyism and stuff and say that, okay, this is his way of maybe not, in a way, because he's watching his fellow writers being blacklisted in Hollywood and all that crazy stuff, and maybe this is his little jab at that too, but I could just be reading into it.
Interesting. I never thought of it like that. That's really, I like that observation. Huh. That's a really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. So, a question for the two of you: what do you think is more terrifying? Um, the vampires trying to get you every day, or being completely alone and not speaking to or touching or being around another person for years?
Oh, I think it's loneliness. Yeah. I mean, I think
Right, yeah.
that's,
I mean,
mhm.
I think that's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he gets something to do that allows him to pull himself out of some of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because he was drinking a lot, and
Mhm.
then when he started, I really loved the science part of it, where he was like learning about, okay, so let's figure out why are they afraid of garlic? Like,
Mhm.
what happens with garlic? And he does all these like experiments, and then
He
why
did a
is it?
Crosses and
And
Yeah, he did a
yeah,
really good job of he did the opposite of The Exorcist. He did a really good job of giving us just enough science to not bore us, and
yeah,
then we go on and it ties into the story. When we read The Exorcist and did our episode, we talked about how it was a little clinical. There were times
it
in the
was
book
very
that
clinical. I
right, and
just
so
read
you're
yeah,
that recently. I was like, man, he's going far with this. Okay.
yeah,
yeah,
and I liked how Matheson. I mean, he really handled it properly because we got the experiments in an easy to understand way that didn't feel dumbed down at all, though. So it
Sure.
felt but it tied in because later he showed us. He did the tests on the girl and he told her different things and kind of showed her how everything worked. And I was very impressed with how he did that and within the
yeah.
story structure.
When he was when Ruth showed up and he was gonna test her blood, I just kept envisioning that scene from The Thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
Oh,
it gonna
right.
be
that would be
is
Yeah.
it
fun.
gonna be another one of these where he's like doing the blood and then all of a sudden she jumps at him because
I'm trying to think.
I knew something wasn't right with her. I'm
Yeah.
like, something's not right.
And I
Something is
think it might
Yeah.
not
have been
right.
part of the problem. Yeah, it definitely she came across as very odd, but it
Yeah.
also played up the paranoia of the, and I guess we could flip it back onto the paranoia of the communists, of where you're constantly questioning everything they do and everything they say, and you're like, I can't believe them, but why am I so distrustful? I should believe them, and then at the end,
Hmm.
of course, she is a
Yeah. She's a
vampire. So
spy. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But I
Hmm.
mean, it really helps build up the tension. But yeah, can you imagine? I mean, imagine reading this in the 50s during a time when there is a heightened sense of paranoia. I wonder
Yeah.
if it hit differently with the audience, and maybe that's why it pops so well early on. And a lot of people, use this as an example of a well written, tale of horror. So
Yeah. And the dog, man, like, did he have to do
Hmm.
that? Like the
yeah,
dog.
yeah. But I think that's a
Yeah.
good. I thought it was a good point. A good plot thing to give us a chance for him to become a little more human,
Yeah. It
to
had to
show
be
us the
that way.
desperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
broke up that one-minded, one note that he had going on trying to kill the vampires and figure out what made him tick and all that stuff. It
Yeah.
gave him something else to look at. And I think without the dog, he doesn't react the same way with the woman.
No.
And
Mm,
then
Yeah.
we may
He,
have
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying we may have got what he said might have happened if he had found the woman earlier. He makes a reference in his head how he might have just straight up attacked her.
Yeah.
If he had been a little bit
Raped her and,
younger and all
hmm
that stuff, just because out of pure desperation or whatever. So I think that dog allowed him to kind of tap into that the emotional thing of finding another alive creature. So that maybe he isn't, but of course then by the time he does find her, he's already paranoid and all that stuff, so it doesn't really matter. But at least he doesn't go pure psycho on it.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
whacked out by the time he finds Ruth. But yeah, I agree with you that after the dog, it's like, oh, he's not drinking as much, and like he's gained a
Yeah.
little weight, and like maybe he's just
Mm,
settled into his life a little bit more. But the first couple of years or whatever it was, I mean, he's drinking all the time. He's talking to himself. He's very paranoid. I mean,
Mhm.
as you would be, but yeah, he's
right.
he's got problems. And this one, he's just kind of mellowed out a little bit. Yeah.
He's
And
got problems more than all the vampires standing outside his house all night.
right, yeah,
Right.
and
Right.
he had slowly been whittling those numbers down. But the idea though that you've got people outside calling for you to come outside 20, the entire time it's night. If he doesn't soundproof his house, he's probably driven crazy
Sure.
Yeah.
years earlier and then just goes out there to do whatever he's going to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
I
and I
like
like.
how
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go
I was
for it.
gonna say I liked how because we know he had a wife and a daughter and they both um died. I liked how the women were a big part of trying to entice him out and it like made him like I've been so lonely and
Hmm.
I haven't had contact with a woman since my wife died and or even before that because she was sick before and um and they made it almost he was saying how they were being so vulgar like pulling up their dresses and like taking off their clothes out there on the yard and stuff. So I like that part of it where you make this guy he's super smart, super resourceful because he's living pretty damn well in that house. Like he's having steak for dinner and
Yep.
he's got the AC going. Like did they have AC back in the 50s?
mhm,
Yeah.
they
He's
did.
got a generator and all that.
A
Yeah.
Yeah.
generator, yeah. And so he's like this superhuman but at the crux of it he's just this guy and
Hmm.
humans want contact with other humans for the most part.
Yeah.
you
We're
know
herd animals.
yeah.
Yeah. I especially like the part at the end when the SWAT team or whatever it is, the vampiric SWAT team, they show up and they kill Ben Cortman, and he's just like, you bastards. Like, he's upset
Yeah.
Right.
about it. And it's
Yeah,
like,
and you
Yeah.
could. Well, it's like it's that case of he wanted to do it. If
Yeah.
anybody's going to kill Ben, it's me. He's
yeah,
mine. That's
sure.
his possession, which I think shows you that he has grown fond of Ben again. That
Hmm.
even
Yeah.
though they're isolated in that situation, that is his contact or his friend or whatever. So I
Yeah,
just
I
thought
don't
that was
think that
funny.
he actually wanted to kill. Like maybe at first he did, and he was looking for him all the time. But
Oh yeah,
after a
yeah.
while, it's like Batman and the Joker. It's like they can't really live without each other in a
Yeah, I think
sense, you
he
know.
wouldn't have killed him if he had the opportunity at the end, but he was hunting him for a while and then kicking himself because he was hiding and basically he was right there under his nose the
Yeah.
whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
What was he in a chimney across the street?
Yep.
yeah. And so at the
Yeah.
end, when we get the snipers and stuff, then we're shown that this is more of a society. This is more like a barbaric society kind of thing than it is a vampire thing. And then we go to the traditional storyline that's in all of these, that man is the monster. And even when as soon as you get them all together, Walking Dead proves this, I Am Legend is proving it, every
Yeah.
story, The Stand, you're always going to have the bad people coming together and proving that they're much worse than any of the other things that we started off fearing or whatever.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I thought at the end, um, that it was going to be like, even though I knew there was something wrong with Ruth, and then we find out she is a vampire, I thought she was with the Cortman people.
Mm.
I didn't realize right away and that there was like this other um
More
group,
evolved.
more
Yeah.
evolved. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
you had said earlier, Jeremy, like it was really confusing to me where he was saying how there's like the living vampires and then the dead ones,
Mm-hmm.
and the difference really didn't get explained. It's
Yeah, so
just,
the zombie like ones, I had to write this down. They were infected after death. So when they were resurrected, those were the weird zombified ones. And then the ones like Ben Cortman, they were affected when they were alive. And then the ones like Ruth, same thing, but her body had a different reaction or a slower reaction to where they could develop the cure for and
And
be
then,
so
killed.
his wife, Virginia, would have been like the zombie like one.
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
because
yeah, I
I
guess
think they
so.
killed it. Yeah, because when they get
Hmm.
infected, they get sick and then they die and then they
Hmm.
resurrect.
Right.
But some of them hold off longer and then they become like the Bens and the other society.
Hmm.
But no matter what happens, once you get infected, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're at some point you're something.
And he at one point he gets like scratched or something, or clawed or bit, I can't remember, like on the finger or something. And I was like, "Oh, is he going to turn now?"
Yeah, but he's
Like,
immune. So
yeah.
that's why I don't think that's why Matheson should have totally dove into that, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So,
He
Yeah.
says something, and I can't even remember what it is, but yeah, he says some like where he's like hypothesizing, like maybe I have built up a cure in my own body because maybe I was infected, and yeah, they don't really go into it like you said, but he there is like a thought because he's always talking to himself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right,
yeah, but
he didn't explain it very well.
which I
Yeah.
think is because he isn't a doctor or
Right, right.
right. So he's just some guy, some smart guy,
Telling
and he knows how to do stuff. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's what I think a sign of a great writer is someone that can do that successfully. It's like give them enough, but don't give them too much that, like you said, is going to bore them or
right,
be inaccurate. So just be very
100%. I believe
level
in
on
that.
that.
I don't believe
Yeah.
in telling you everything because you're not going to know everything. I get yelled at all the time by people for not telling them everything. So
Hmm.
I'm used to, that's how I like a story to be. So I'm not upset they don't do it, but he could have
Yeah.
added more time. But I love that
Sure.
he
No,
up
I
the
agree with you. I agree
pace.
with you.
I would have liked a little bit more of where the sandstorms came from, because like sandstorms are like, especially in the US. I mean, okay, maybe if you're in the desert, you know, you get sandstorms. But this sandstorms are not a common thing in like most of America.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe it's some sort of callback to the Dust Bowls and the Great Depression and things of that nature. And maybe he's just making a tie-in that is our society. But I mean, they started how far before? That's one thing he doesn't really tell us is how soon before the
Yeah,
infection, because he's starting to say that the sandstorm is the cause of the infection at one point.
yeah,
That's
Mhm.
his thoughts. So
yeah. Because
Yeah.
when Virginia is sick, I it's been around for a while, I think.
do we
It,
Hmm.
know in the 50s if there was some sort of farming thing? Okay, I mean, like I said, he wrote this in the 50s. He could be tapping into a bunch of stuff happening at that time that we just don't know about.
yeah.
maybe that was something that they were always arguing about was farmland and you know, a return of that kind of Dust Bowl era because of improper use of farming techniques and stuff.
Yeah. All
So,
good questions.
as I bore
Yeah.
everyone to death with those
Yeah.
questions. So let's get back to the
No, I
read.
love no.
And then
I mean, it's something to think about. I
I
mean,
did,
yeah, it's just like you said, Don. It's like, well, are there really like dust storms in LA? Because I mean, I think it takes place in LA. I know that they were in the same house. I could
yeah.
see it being like in a desert area of California. I mean, I know LA is still kind of deserty, but yeah, it's like there's just this dust storm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
And that
all
one
you
that
need to
does make you
know.
wonder though, because he
Yeah,
doesn't tell us what direction it's coming from. What if this is a
right,
giant dust storm coming over the ocean,
right.
coming
Yeah.
from the other side of the
Yep.
world? We don't
Hmm.
know, or if it, and so that would make it really interesting. What if this is 100% just something happening in America and not anywhere else? And we
Right.
don't know
Yeah.
about it because he doesn't know about it because he doesn't have any technology to contact anybody really.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
can't leave, or he could,
Yeah.
but then he would be screwing himself at nighttime because he wouldn't have shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another thing. It makes you wonder about flight and all that thing. Maybe if he was a pilot or an ability to do that, maybe he
Yeah.
could fly somewhere and see if there was something else going on. Um,
Yeah. I loved how he was speaking about getting places. Um he was very upset over that car and he had to drive to this like specific dealer. He he took a car and drove to this specific dealer to get another car just like the one he had.
Yeah, yeah,
well, yeah, and I think that falls into you know, the fond memories he has. How people, especially in America, how we like to romanticize our vehicles, especially back then too. If you think about
sure.
50s, 60s, and 70s, my son's godfather still has his car from 67 in the garage, and it's a thing of
Wow.
beauty. So, um,
Awesome.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of plays into that American, you know,
Yeah.
machismo, I guess, in a little bit. But also, it's the last thing he had, right? Because he was
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
upset about the house. Oh my God, I left the garage open. They're going to destroy everything in my house. The last thing I have that my wife and child was at, and all that stuff. So, because it
Yeah.
really, honestly, you would think he would leave. Once they're
Yeah.
gone, he should have got into a better location with a better like a gated community, like they do in Walking Dead. They
Hmm.
go and find like a prison and they go hang out in a prison. You would think
Yeah.
he would go find a house that was more isolated and had better protection and was
Yeah.
allowing him to do
And
more.
in LA, even back in the 50s or 70s
Oh,
where it took place,
yeah.
I'm sure there's gated houses,
Right. There's got to be some
celebrities.
huge things up in the hills and
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But we don't know yeah, we don't really know. But he stayed there because everything was connected to that last little bit of humanity he still had left in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I did hate about the book is like we met his wife Virginia and
Hmm.
so he was talking about Virginia but then towards the end when he was waking up I
He
think
used a
after
nickname.
he used Verge a couple of
Oh
times and
yeah.
I'm like who the hell is he talking about
Yeah.
and it took me like literally a couple pages before I figured it out and I'm like oh that must be what he called his wife
Yep.
um
Well, I
because
think
I was
that was
like
funny too, though. Can you imagine him falling asleep with her in the house? That didn't make
yeah
sense to me
yeah
because he was that he did think something was up. I can't imagine.
yeah
I mean, I assume he fell asleep because he was exhausted, but
yeah I'm like who the hell is Verge did I miss something
Yeah. Yeah.
and then to have her just standing by the door ready to leave, and then
yeah
reawakens his paranora. What's the
yeah
word I'm looking for?
Paranoia.
paranoia.
There you go. It's been a long day,
All
and
good.
so luckily Dawn's up here too. She just whispered it too. She's like, "Hey, moron, this is the word you're looking for." So. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I thought it was a fun way. Just
yeah,
it was definitely a better read. I
yeah,
totally rethought everything with this one. I'm glad we jumped into it.
yeah. Me
I actually
too.
found myself kind of rushing back to it. And it's been a little while since I've done that with a book. So, but
Nice.
I have got the worst cover. I don't know if you
Yeah.
picked this one.
Oh, you've got that. No, I did not pick
Oh
that one.
yeah.
It is
I
a
had that
terrible
one
cover,
too.
but
I
it
have
also
that
has
one.
more stories because mine's 300 pages and it's got a bunch of stories after it. So
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I found some really cool covers.
that one's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah. This was pretty cool. Um, so I think I found seven. I didn't want that Will Smith one.
Yeah.
I've had this since the day it came out. You know what I mean? When they
Yeah,
reproduced it for the Will Smith movie, I
yeah.
bought it. So 95.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
been
But
sitting. on my
This was
shelf.
pretty cool. It's definitely got the burning pit of bodies in the back there, which that's another point I liked about the story is how he mentions that the pit never goes out. Like
Yeah.
the fire is always burning.
Moldering, yeah.
Yeah.
It also makes you wonder though what happened to all those people that were enforcing that. Because when he goes to put his family, his child and his
His
wife in there, there's people there. There's people doing this. So now
yeah.
I don't know how long were we ever given a clear picture of how long from the last time to when he was doing it
Yeah.
daily? It just makes you wonder at what point did the people that were enforcing this law need to be put into the fires?
Yeah.
And are those the people that pull away and become the society with the medication and that
Yeah.
Ruth's a part of?
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that's yeah, they're like the elites, right?
Yeah.
And so then it makes
Maybe.
you wonder about that. And how many of the elites, how many of the normal folks that the elites bring in to be, whatever fodder for whatever else they needed for.
Yeah. Yeah. This
That
is the
one's
cover
in
that I have.
It's
Oh, that's so
interesting
cool.
because it looks like a 70s Hammer movie
It
poster.
does.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. So
Yeah. This is a UK I actually got this version from a vintage bookseller in England.
that's
Um,
cool.
I love it.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. And I had planned on reading it anyways when I saw they had it up for sale. Um, so I just grabbed it. Um, but yeah, it's a corgi. And I think because it doesn't say exactly what year it's from, but I believe this is the 1971 version from Corgi.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so cool. I
because
love it.
they published
Yeah.
it in 56, which I got another Corgi cover, 60, 62, and then 71. So this is probably the 71 because this definitely has that 70s, like you said, the hammer. Um, I just feel like that's like uh who's the guy? Lee.
Christopher Lee?
Christopher Lee, like
Mhm.
with the stake. I feel like that's him, even though you can't see the person's face.
It's either
Yeah, he's
him
a
or
little
Peter Cushing,
yeah,
so
I was just saying his
Peter
hair's a
Cushing,
little
yeah.
too long for Peter Cushing. So
Yeah.
oh man, there's another actor that kind of reminds me of too, but it's the perfect cover.
Yeah.
They should just reproduce this.
This is another cool
oh,
one, I
that's
think.
cool. I like
Yeah.
that one.
25 cents.
The
Right.
most terrifying novel you will
Yeah.
ever read. They didn't know what was coming. So
William Campbell Gould. I've never heard of him.
he's a prize-winning mystery novelist, though. We do know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
love it.
again, I
I
love the
wonder
pit.
I mean, that's so generic. What prize are we talking about here? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like when sometimes you'll see an indie book and they'll slap some sort of weird phrase on there, and you're like, well, it's like
Yeah.
they won a prize
Oh,
because their mom gave them something. They're like, prize award winning. So
yeah.
we can get away with that a little bit more now. Back then, they were a little more stodgy with their gifts and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a cool cover, and I love how they did that old school where they kind of cut it off and give you like a little box of the letters, and then they gave you the
Yep.
picture. That's always
Yeah.
got that vibe to it. This is pretty cool too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
I
is
like that a lot.
the another corgi. So I'm gonna say just because of the look of it, I'm gonna say this one looks like it's the 50s version or the 60s version
Yeah,
of the cover. Just because it does have that old like 50s, 60s Western feel
It
yeah.
to
does.
it, to me, anyways.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
bet
I like
that's
how
like
you
late
can
50s,
barely
early 60s.
see. I like how you can barely see the mallet.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can't
you
see me
can.
pointing at it, but there's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
right there, that little
right
bit of
there.
mallet's in the shadows, and you kind of don't see it, but once you do, you know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Because we don't even get to see him. They really focus it on Ruth here. So
Yep. Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know
I
what
really
that.
do like this. That one's a
Yeah.
cool cover. I've never heard of Corgi books before.
Yeah.
I have to
They
start
got
digging around.
yeah, they got to be a UK outfit. Because is Matheson from the UK? Is he's American, isn't he?
I think he's American, but I don't know.
Matheson?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was American.
yeah,
Okay.
because he did
Yeah.
all the TV stuff here and all that
Yeah.
nonsense. But
Okay. Yeah.
but they did, like I said, he did all the post stuff for Roger Corman, and he's written a ton of cool things. So, and like you were
Yeah.
saying, Twilight Zone, and like a lot of the things that we grew up on, um, watching late night. I mean, he's got his fingerprints on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
I
is a
remember
more
this one.
More modern version.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's the
remember
one I
this one.
have. Well, and what's cool about all of his stuff, at least now when they reprint them, is you get a lot of his short stories in the back. Um, and so you'll get, I don't know, just whatever. But the other ones that I have that are like that too, Incredible Shrinking Man, Stir of Echoes, all have like, because he was mainly a short story guy. I mean, he did novels a lot, but it was more short stories than anything. I think that's probably mainly what he did.
I can't wait to
Episodic
read.
television type of stuff, you know.
I
Hmm.
can't wait to read Stir of Echoes. I actually have a copy of it around here somewhere because
1956. It's, you know, it's funny. The Kevin Bacon one movie was 99 2000, and again didn't know. Figured it was kind of like didn't know when it was actually written, but I think it was like 56 57. So I was like, wow,
yeah,
this guy's just really ahead of his time.
he
So
was, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is very Nosferatu looking
hmm
vampires, which doesn't make sense because he didn't describe the vampires as looking like
Well,
creatures.
he did mention that the virus made the canines grow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So they would have the teeth. And I assume that the ones that look like they're, rotting are the dead ones.
Mm,
So, they're not. But then as we get farther back, what do we see? We see kind of up high society folks. They almost
yeah.
hmm
look like you would expect to see at a dinner party or something. And so
Yeah.
maybe that's what we're seeing in the back. They're reserved, but as they get closer to the human, they're becoming more and more ferocious.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Sure.
good way to look at it.
Um, and
This
the
is
ones
another
that we're
cool
supposed
cover.
to worry about are the ones
Oh
in the
wow.
back, not the other ones. That is very cool. That makes me think of Omega Man
Yeah.
Yeah, that
because in
looks like an
Omega Man,
album
he's in
cover.
this huge
Yeah.
house, and it's like this. It's a multi-story house, and it's all
Yeah.
lit up and stuff, and he's. But it does. Yeah, you're right. It does look like it looks like a bunch of groupies. You know what
Yeah.
else it has the vibe of? It has the vibe of Manson, like
Totally.
Charles Manson.
Yeah.
hmm
You
Yeah.
got the guy up there getting worshipped by all the crazies, but
Yeah.
I kind of like the way that they did his name too. That makes you think of an album too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It reminds
Metallica
me
or
of
Megadeth.
yeah.
Metallica. I was thinking Megadeth, Metallica. Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was really I was happy. I was pleasantly surprised because we've read a couple this go around that have kind of been backwards for us, where we were going
Yeah.
in excited and they sucked. It was
Yeah.
nice to go into one where I kind of thought we were going to be busting your chops, Jeremy, and then
Oh, I was waiting for it. I was
I'm
ready.
like, oh no, this is like one of the best things I've
Yeah.
read this year,
Yeah.
and which means I'm excited to dive into some more stuff. So
Yeah. So this is like a redo of the one we saw
Yeah. I
previously.
was gonna
Um,
say that
but
looks
look at the even
older.
better though. Yeah, with the
yeah.
look how far
The-
back it
Look at the
goes and then
baby. It's got
lined
the
up.
baby head,
Yeah, that's
the
creepy.
little baby. This is the tour version. We got Dean Koontz up here. We had Stephen King on a previous one, and now we got some Dean
Yeah.
Koontz. So yeah,
So
I think this was a pretty cool cover.
is this like one of the books that inspired you? Is this the one that you chose? I can't remember from the interview. Was this
Me,
one of
oh, this is my favorite novel of all
Okay,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
assumed it was when you asked if you wanted to do it and have you come on
Yeah.
because we always like that when when we did Halloween Tree, that's RJ Rolls, that's like his favorite, one of his favorite books, so he wanted to come on and that's another one where we were pleasantly surprised, I think.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, I
enjoyed
was
it.
surprised how much I liked it.
Well,
And
and no, like everyone, I don't know, not everybody, but a lot of people that I talk to, they don't know what this book is even about. They're like, "Oh, that's a book, the Will Smith movie." It's like, yeah, no, and it's about vampires, and they're like, "What?" Or whatever. But
Well, like me, I didn't know it was about vampires at first,
hmm
you know.
yeah, they did a
And
poor
then
yeah,
job describing
and
that in
then
the movie, but
when I saw the cover that I have where he's staking the girl, I'm like, "Oh, you don't stake zombies.
right,
You
right,
stake vampires."
yeah. Again, Matheson kind of shits on Romero because he thinks that he's like kind of ripped him off with the zombies. So
he
it's
also does
interesting.
that with everybody that made a movie. He
Yeah,
says
right,
he has a famous quote that says, "I don't know why they keep making a movie of this because none of them understand it."
right.
And so it's like, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, but it's something to that accord. And he's right. If you
Was
watch
it I
these
Am
movies,
Legend?
no, he said it for all three. He
Oh, okay.
basically said when I Am Legend came out, he was like all three of them. He's like, nope, they haven't got it yet. They have no
Yeah.
clue what they're doing. Now they do pick out things. Each one's gotten something right,
Hmm.
but collectively, you get three different experiences, and none of them are the book, really.
No,
But yeah, I'm a huge Vincent Price guy, so I'm
me
always looking.
too. I like
That's
that one. Yeah,
it's a
Last
good
Man on
movie,
Earth is
even if
pretty
even
good.
if we
Yeah.
didn't know that
Hmm.
it's supposed to
Yeah.
be off of this. It's a great movie, but
Yeah. And he
he
listens to
doesn't.
jazz instead of Brahms and Beethoven.
Yeah, he definitely
Yeah.
leans into the music of the time, like you would
Totally.
expect, and he was a little more hip, and he's awesome as Price, but yeah, Omega Man's a little more. It's kind of that, but on acid. It has that
Hmm.
vibe. Yeah, we'll definitely have to sit down and watch all three of them so that you can compare them all and
I
stuff.
would love to. Yeah, the exploitation vibe. Yeah, I had seen a trailer, like little snippets of it, and I was like, God, this has like definitely
So,
exploitation feel. You know?
huge spoiler alert for everybody because I Am Legend ends with him, of course, dying. And so Omega Man does capture that vibe, and it was the first time I'd seen a movie where the hero dies at the end, and it just blew my mind. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And you can kind of see how that influenced me later when I do write. That everybody's up for grabs, and we don't have. We sometimes,
Not a single person survives your books, Eric.
that's true. But the hero could have survived it if I'd have been influenced differently. So
Right.
there's always a chance. One of these days, I'm gonna write a book, and everybody's gonna live, and everybody's gonna be happy, and everybody's gonna hate it. So that'll be
I
fun.
think the first time I met, like right after I met Eric, I read Poplick, and I reached out to him, and I'm like you just gave me hope, and then you snatched it right away, man.
That's my talent, I guess.
Like I was like, yes, and then I was like, what the hell?
Many of my books do that. I like a good curveball.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's important. If
yeah,
you do it right, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was the first time, and the way they did it, and the way like I said, we'll watch the movies, we'll talk about it. I was blown away because I probably was like 6 or something when he showed me Omega Man. So I was very young and it influenced me, and it's probably why I liked it, and it's probably why I didn't like the story when I read it. I had the same reaction to Starship Troopers. I love Starship Troopers, the movie. When I tried to read the book, it's nothing like it. And so then I hated it. But I have a
Hmm.
feeling if I go back to it now and reread it, I'll probably enjoy it and find different things and reasons to like it as a separate thing.
I
But
did not know Starship Troopers was a book.
yeah,
That's from the 70s, isn't it? Or
yeah,
does
yeah,
it
I think
go
so.
back further than that?
I,
Yeah.
yeah, late
Uh,
60s, early 70s, I think. No,
huh.
it's going to end up being like late 80s or something. But no, I think it's an older
Yeah.
book. But yeah, but it's
Hmm.
nothing like the movie. The movie is darn near perfect in all
Yeah,
the
I love
things
that
it's
movie.
trying to do. So,
Well, I love the propaganda stuff that they do with that movie. It's so cool.
yeah,
It's like the World War II style, you know.
yeah. Would
Now
you
I
like
gotta
to know
know.
more?
Yeah, right, right. It's
Now I
great.
gotta know when Starship Troopers was.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things, and sometimes that'll happen. And of course, we know this now. They almost rarely get the adaptations correct in any
Oh my
movie.
gosh, it's by Robert Heinlein.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've recently started reading some of his stuff. 1959.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow,
Okay.
even farther back. So,
Yeah,
Hmm.
but maybe it falls in like I Am Legend. Maybe it's one of those things that I just need to revisit. So,
mhm.
Sure.
It won a Hugo Award too.
yeah, yeah. But I just remember hating it when I read it. I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't get
That
it.
that same used bookseller, Off-World Books. I bought a bunch of Heinlein.
That's cool.
Yeah, so now I'm gonna have to see if
Awesome.
they have a copy of Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
It
we can
sucks
do
that
that.
they're
Me
in the
too.
UK because the prices of the books aren't bad. It's the shipping
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
UK
Nothing's
over here
worse
that'll
than
get you.
shipping. So, but no, I enjoyed this.
Yeah,
We'll watch the movies and compare them, and we can pick out what we think's cool or not.
yeah.
Um,
I loved it. It was a great book. I'm kind of mad at myself for
do we
not having
know?
read it sooner.
Do we know if he revisited this character's ideas, the society later? Does he ever go back to it?
Not to my knowledge. He did a lot of stuff in the 50s, 60s. And then like the 70s he started getting a little like more dramatic. It wasn't as horror oriented. He still wrote cool stuff, but like Somewhere in Time is a good example. It's not
Yeah.
horror at all. It's just like weird time traveler stuff
Yeah,
where
more
this guy,
science fiction-y and
yeah,
Twilight
yeah.
Zone-y. Yeah,
Well,
you
What
kind of,
Dreams May Come. He
yeah,
actually hated the movie. He pretty
of
much hated
course.
every movie, but the Robin Williams movie, he wrote that, and that's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
So,
no, in fact, what's funny is I know he wrote it. We went to see it and it was not what I thought it was going to be. Um, I mean, we kind of went into it blind. I was just like, oh yeah, this guy wrote it. He wrote all these other things. This is probably gonna be cool. And it's like the
mhm.
saddest, most depressing suicide movie ever
Yep,
done.
yep.
Yeah, it was a bummer. So,
Yeah. I got to
but
get
yeah,
my
no,
hands on some
he's done
some
some
more
cool stuff.
Matheson.
The Harrison Ford movie, with Michelle Pfeiffer, and didn't he write that one? What Lies Beneath? The one where he's dating, he has an affair.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know. You might be right. I know he did like weird stuff like The Box, which was, I don't know, it was apparently a really
Yeah,
bad movie, but he
yeah,
did
no,
that as
no,
a
that's an
short
awesome one.
story.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, no,
it
that's a good idea. Yeah, no,
Real Steel with Hugh Jackman? He wrote that about fighting robots. So like he's been kind of all over the place.
yeah, and I think he gets that though from the TV stuff because he kind of
Sure.
that opens up the the creativity where you kind of jump into different subgenres and type science fiction and fantasy and all that good stuff. But yeah, and
Hmm.
then like I said, my favorite one of my favorite movies is the Pit and the Pendulum, and he's the author of that for the screenplay.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm pretty sure. Am I talking out of my ass? Let's see.
For the Vincent Price one?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow, that would be
Uh,
awesome. I mean, that would make sense.
yeah, there's like all of the ones that Vincent Price did with Corman. He was the
I love
writer of.
that. We just watched that last year,
Yeah, we did
I
that
think.
series of movies that inspired us or
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
That's one of mine that I watched as a kid over and over and over. I don't know. I'll have to dig around and see if I can't find. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, Price fills
Yeah.
in that one.
Screenplay by Richard Matheson.
Cool. That's awesome.
So he did, I want to say he did The Raven and he did a couple other ones that because he was like on Corman just had him on a speed dial for lack of a better word. And he's like, I got, contracted him and said, we're going to do this, this, and this. Because he always would use the same sets for movies. So you will see him pop up over and over again in these when he'll do a whole bunch of things in a row to save money. So, um,
Well,
yeah, no, I loved him as a screenwriter. Like I said, I don't know. I didn't dig the storytelling as much, but I think I let my opinion on this one stop me from doing a deep dive. So maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
so thank you, Jeremy, for
Yeah, no problem.
putting
Thanks
this
for
on
reading
our
it, guys. It
radar.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
this
another
is
book that he did write that I did enjoy, but I think it's the one that inspired the What Lies Beneath, but I'll have to go dig it up.
That wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me if he did that one. Real quick, I really highly recommend The Shrinking Man. So
Hmm.
I mean, one thing that Matheson does really well is that he gets inside the characters' heads and he has this very dramatic way of, telling a story. For with I Am Legend, it's the loneliness and like the guy just going crazy. Well, in The Shrinking Man, it's interesting because you get him in modern times when he's like little and he's facing this spider, and then we'll go back and it'll tell how he got there, and just some of the stuff like that he goes through, like with his daughter, for example. He gets in like one of her doll houses and she's yelling and she's like 3 or 4 and he's just like closing his ears, and I don't know, it's really interesting way to tell a story, so I think he does
Yeah,
that very well.
and I thought that. I mean, we didn't even get into some of that. Some of the thoughts that he was having in I Am Legend is pretty borderline psychotic as he's going through
Yeah.
everything. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
also very Mad Men. Now, if you like Mad Men, you're gonna love this because the whole time I'm just thinking Mad Men as he's drinking his whiskey and thinking all those crazy thoughts and stuff. So
Sure.
because
Right.
he had that very 50s mindset. Because at one point,
Definitely.
didn't he say like he should trust her because she was a woman and they're not devious enough to, which is kind of
Yeah.
odd. But he was like, she's not clever enough to be tricking me, and of course she obviously was tricking him. So
Yeah.
I just thought that was a funny because it reminded me of when I read the old Marvel comics. If you read like early Fantastic Four, Daredevil, they always do that to the female characters. Like Sue Richards is not a great character until you get like 100 issues into it. She's really just there as arm candy, or whatever. So,
But then again, what does that say about Neville's character? So it's like he's kind of making fun of that thing with men. So
oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure, sure. It does
yeah,
show you that society had a blind spot and that they aren't. And maybe that's the whole point of it is he's pointing that out. Like, hey, this guy
hmm
is supposed to be this. His blind spot's going to be the thing that kills him at the end. So,
sure.
Yeah.
um, I just thought it was funny that's what they leaned into at that one point. So I couldn't imagine that popping up in something today. It just would be funny. Everybody would be losing their minds online.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they haven't already started trying to witch hunt some of the older stuff as they start to do those. They go back and read stuff and they're like, whoa, my
Yeah.
God, this thing written 100 years ago doesn't match up with what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
Moby
just think
Dick or
that's funny.
something.
Yeah, yeah. They just
Yeah.
always, I just think it's funny when they pop up in
Yeah.
some of the classics.
I just I wish more people would read classic vintage horror.
Oh yeah, because I think
Um,
then they would understand where a lot of us are coming from and some of the
yeah,
things that
Mhm.
influenced us, but also just to see kind of that weird shift as we go over. That's what the whole reason we do this is that we
Sure.
can see how where we started to where we are and the improvements and maybe some of the step backs that there are. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
always find myself going backwards. Starting with music, it's like, oh, I really like, this band and, Led Zeppelin or whatever. It's like, well, who were they listening to? Who is Black Sabbath listening to? It's like Robert Johnson. Who's this guy? He's an old blues cat from the 30s. Okay. And then I just listened to that shit for like 5 years straight. You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Like, it's just, so
And you
yeah.
can see how they were influenced. That's the cool part is when you come across, they're like, oh, I was influenced by this. And you're like, okay, sometimes it's just dead, but sometimes you're like, oh, I get it. I see
Mhm.
how
yeah.
this launched this entire genre of music and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's always exciting.
And I can totally see the influence of this book in Fat Death, Jeremy. I can
Yeah.
totally see that influence. I can't in the other two books that you've written,
Yeah.
but in Fat Death, 100%.
For
I
sure.
can, I,
It was there, definitely.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
always cool too when you see somebody's influence get a little nod in their stuff. It's always
yeah,
fun when you can pick it up and then you kind of see it.
yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. You can still find copies on Amazon. If you're like me and you like to find the cool vintage covers, you can go on eBay or search Off-World Books if you're
Well,
in
you
the
say
UK.
vintage covers, but this is actually was in the early 95. I mean, this is
That's
getting
not
to be
vintage yet.
Vincent. This is
It,
vintage. This is
it's
old.
Although actually I just had
Yeah,
a
right.
conversation with Candace about that because I do vintage horror reviews for Uncomfortably Dark, and I'm like, do you consider 93 as vintage? And she's like, well, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, it is now.
okay.
And that
Yeah.
stinks because
Which
I
is
was
when I
old and
graduate.
I know I
We
was old in
graduated.
the 90s, so I don't want to hear that it's vintage. Dawn's glaring at me because she's,
Eric and I
vintage.
graduated in 93.
So,
Nice.
But all right, well, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great episode, and I am so glad you put this little bug in my ear to read
Me
this.
too. Yeah, I'm glad you
yeah.
guys read it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for the opportunity, giving me another
Yeah,
interview. This is really great for me. So I had a
yeah,
Oh
blast.
man, well, I love chatting with you. So we'll do this
yeah.
again. We got to do
Oh
the
yeah,
movies. We have to do the movies.
we
Yeah,
have
we'll have
to.
to do the movies, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Take it easy.